I read a biblical book that details out the life of Abraham, and I mentioned this when the conference opened. And Abraham begins his life with all his proximal hedonic needs satiated, and the voice of God comes to him and says, go out into the world, get away from what's merely infantile and satiating, and have the adventure of your life. And that's a good bargain, because we're built not for mere proximal infantile satiation of our base desires, but to move out into the world like the adventurers that we are, and to face the complexities of the catastrophic future with a certain degree of nobility and courage, and to hoist the world on our shoulders and to struggle uphill. And it's in that struggle that the meaning of life emerges. If you lived your life completely, maybe it would justify itself, right? And where would you find the meaning that justifies the suffering in life? And the answer to that is, well, you find it in the burden of responsibility, because the burden of responsibility isn't a burden. It's the greatest opportunity you could possibly have. And you know perfectly well, when you're trying to decide if your own life is worth having, that if someone comes up to you even once and says, you know, what you did for me, it really mattered. And that might get you through like a week of rough times. Just the mere fact that it was obvious that the sacrifices that you made in relationship to others actually made a difference. And you can make a continual difference in your life if you adopt the proper sacrificial attitude, right? And it's the sacrificial attitude that makes the hierarchy of identity possible, because what you do with the proper sacrifice is continually sacrifice the lower to the higher. You sacrifice your own self-serving, proximal, hedonic whims to a pattern of being that sustains you across the long run and that unites more and more people. And it's a worthwhile sacrifice, because the payback for the sacrifice is overwhelmingly disproportionate to the cost. And everyone who's had a child who has any sense, who's escaped from their primordial narcissism, understands this, because bringing a child into the world and watching that person develop is a bittersweet adventure, because children are fragile and things go wrong. But it's a very rare person whose head is set on their shoulders in anything approximating the proper manner, who isn't thrilled to death to see the person they brought into the world thrive as a consequence of their sacrifices, and to see in that thriving the justification for all the pain that was associated with their production. And that's what life is like. And we don't let young people know this anymore.